August 2013, my family and I took a trip to Las Vegas and California. For 10 days, we were beach hopping, sightseeing, and making memories. Towards the end of our trip, my brother AJ informed Anna and I that our favorite band, One Direction, was in town in Los Angeles and was going to be performing at the Staples Center the next night. Naturally, Anna and I begged my dad to get us tickets. Surprisingly, he wasn't opposed, especially when we reminded him that he would be our chaperone. Anna and I were obsessed with One Direction, to say the least. I knew to keep my eyes off of her love, Louis Tomlinson, as long as she would keep her eyes off of my husband, Zayn Malik. On the day of the concert, Anna and I spent way too long picking out our outfits and concealing our sunburns. Finally, we were ready to go. In the car, we insisted on blasting One Direction's album on repeat to get my dad acquainted with that music. This was a terrible mistake. My dad decided that he had a newfound confidence with the songs, causing him to sing, or screech, the entire concert. Even worse, he was singing the wrong words and creating his own lyrics the whole night. When we had first gotten to the concert, Anna and I bought t-shirts. We tried to coax my dad into buying one, but he wasn't budging. Anna and I went into the bathroom to change, and when we came out, my dad was missing. A stranger in a One Direction t-shirt several sizes too small, under his unbuttoned, multicolored button-down shirt, was walking towards us and yelling, "Guys, I'm over here." That man was actually not a stranger. That was my dad. Anna and I could not bear this pain alone, so we sent the picture in our family group chat to share the horror with the rest of them. Caroline then tweeted the picture, and one of her friends who was working for my dad that summer got a hold of it. When my dad got back to work, there were printouts of his outfit all over the office. Although in the moment it was extremely embarrassing for him, it's moments like these that capture my dad's sense of humor. About 6 months after this One Direction fiasco, my dad and I had the opportunity to fly with the Bruins on their plane to New York and watch them play and beat the Rangers. Growing up, the Bruins were always my favorite professional sports team. I lived for the fights in hockey. In 7th grade, my love for the Bruins grew exponentially after my dad and I flew to New York for what would soon become the single best weekend of my life. Our Bruins adventure began at TD Garden on a Saturday afternoon in March. The Bruins were playing the Washington Capitals at home that day, and we were sitting in Patrice Bergeron's box. During one of the period breaks, 3 of the Bruins ice girls came up to our box, and before I knew it, my dad was asking me to take pictures of him with them. I think this might have been one of the highlights of the weekend for my dad. Sorry, Mom. After the Bruins' devastating 4-2 loss to Washington, my dad and I headed to Logan Airport. About an hour and a half later, we arrived in New York and headed to dinner with Zdeno Chara and Gregory Campbell, pictured here. The weekend concluded with a 6-3 win for the Bruins over the Rangers. Sorry, Liam. And after our flight back, one of my favorite highlights of the weekend happened. My favorite player, Brad Marchand, came off the plane with outstretched arms and hugged me. The rest of the team followed Marchand's example, and it took everything in me to conceal my excitement. The real highlight of this weekend for me, though, was not the win. It was not my steak dinner and ice cream sundae I shared with Gregory Campbell. It was not the hugs from the players. Instead, it was the time with my dad. In 7th grade, a father-daughter weekend felt special. My dad had dedicated his entire weekend to his 13-year-old daughter, which I can promise you was not an easy task. However, this father-daughter weekend felt even more special about 1 short year later. As I sat in my bed on FaceTime on July 29, 2015, the headlights of my mom's car stared into my window as she made the right-hand turn into my driveway. My FaceTime call continued another 15 minutes until I heard my mom's frantic footsteps approach my bedroom door. "Claire, can you come down, please? I have to talk to you and Caroline." "Yeah, of course. Let me hang up. I'll be right down." My mom waited by the door, which was unusual. It was as if she knew I would be unable to dive alone into the sea of relatives and close family friends that were suddenly flooding my house. "Mom, why are there so many people here?" I asked as she held my hand down the stairs. Slow steps, shaky legs. I could not tell if I was supporting her or if she was supporting me. They just wanted to come and see Lynn, our family friend, before she flies back to Virginia tomorrow." The hesitation in her voice was not reassuring. The quiver in her words was not reassuring. The way she grasped onto me was not reassuring. We made our way into the living room where we met Caroline. The home phone had rung a few times before my mom got home. Thank goodness I wasn't the one to pick it up. I still get anxious when I get phone calls from random numbers. Is someone hurt? Is someone sick? Is someone dead? Caroline was the one to pick up that phone call and deliver the news to my mom. I can picture the tears streaming down her face, her shallow breaths, her trembling body, but her attempt to be strong, to tell Mom it was going to be okay, to tell Mom that she would take care of me. I can envision her internal battle. Was she protecting me by not sharing the news with me until my mom got home, or was she hurting and needing the support of our mom to share this news? Caroline must have felt completely alone, scared. I was home, Lynn's kids were home, but Caroline was alone, sitting in her room with nothing but this pain, nothing but this grief, nothing but this heavy blanket weighing her down. "Claire," my mom began. Caroline reached for my hand. "There's been an accident tonight." "Is Grandpa okay?" I asked. All of the muscles in my shoulders contracted. "Grandpa is okay." Caroline clasped my hand tighter. My mom could barely mutter out the words. "Dad and Anna were in a plane crash tonight." "Mom," I began. I didn't want to finish the question. I didn't want to hear the answer. "Did they die?" "Well, there is one confirmed death. They aren't sure if both passengers died yet, though." Grasping onto hope for the first time in the past 15 minutes, a tiny bit of the pressure was released from my shoulders. Maybe Anna or my dad is okay, I thought. And then I was snapped back into reality. Or maybe they're both gone forever. How the heck am I supposed to live the rest of my life without half of my family? Was losing AJ 8.5 months ago just not enough? While these thoughts fumbled around in my head, I needed answers. I needed to know the full story. Sure enough, when I asked my mom a few minutes later if there were any more updates, she told me that they had both died, and the weight was once again added to my back. "I'm so sorry, Claire," my mom began. "No, Mom, this can't be real," I added. The nausea in my stomach reminded me that this was real pain. I had lost half of my family in 8.5 months, gone forever. When I think about my dad, the characteristics that immediately come to my mind are his passion, his philanthropic personality, and his competitive edge. This is how my dad has always been. Whether my dad was teaching me how to give to others or simply asking how I did on a middle school math test compared to the smartest boy in my class, my dad could just about always be found sporting one of these characteristics. Let's just get a quick sense of my dad's passion. It's not done yet. Now, maybe, just maybe, if you can multiply this excitement by about 1,000, you'll be able to get a slight sense for how our house was after a Notre Dame victory. I think I was about 8 months old when I heard my first F-bomb. As a matter of fact, it might have been in almost this exact moment. Oh, not this one. Dad must have been on Claire duty, but my mom should have known that my dad could not be trusted with Claire duty on a Saturday afternoon in the fall. If you've ever met my dad, you know that nothing, and I mean nothing, can compare to his love for Notre Dame football. Unfortunately for me, that led to occasional episodes of what some of you might see as neglect. I promise I was still my dad's favorite. Well, until I busted him for crashing my mom's car when I was 3, but that's a story for another time. I was bred in a house in which my weekends in the fall revolved around Notre Dame football. Until I was about 9 years old, I was dressed as a Notre Dame cheerleader every single year for Halloween. Unfortunately, if Notre Dame lost, my dad would go into hibernation for the rest of the weekend, and we all knew better than to try to interrupt his grieving time. Next fall, I will be heading out to South Bend, Indiana for college. Although my dad did used to say that he would only pay for college if I attended Notre Dame, I promise it's not the only reason I'm going. However, I do hope I'm making you proud, Dad. I know I will continue to feel you with me more than ever before during these next 4 years. Please watch over me always, especially in my organic chemistry class. I'm going to need all the help I can get. And now, Mom. Mom, thank you. Your grace, your strength, your perseverance are unparalleled. Without you, I honestly do not know how Caroline and I would have grown into the people we are. Through the anniversaries and holidays, the late-night panic attacks, and also the happiest moments, you've continued to show us the value of life. These past almost 4 years have been tough. I'm not going to lie, but I'm healing, slowly. I have learned how to control my anxiety through therapy. I have learned that it is okay to ask for help when you need it. But more than anything, I have learned the value of family. So go home, Tell your siblings and your parents that you love them, because trust me, if I had the opportunity to do so, I certainly would. Thank you.